Guys, 1 year after its release, I finally decided to try Elden Ring Nightreign. When this game launched, people seemed split. Some called it one of FromSoft's best co-op experiences, while others said it didn't even feel like Elden Ring. So, I wanted to find out for myself. As someone with very little experience going into Nightreign, I jumped in with random teammates to see if it was actually worth playing in 2026. And after finally beating a full run, I definitely have some thoughts. So, is Elden Ring Nightreign worth buying in 2026? Let's find out. Before I talk about my experience with Nightreign, I think it's important to explain how the game actually works, the fundamentals, especially for anyone who's never played before. Unlike the original Elden Ring, Nightreign is built around shorter, fast-paced runs. Instead of exploring one massive open world at your own pace, you and two other players, or yourself, or you and one other player, you drop into Limveld. It's where you have 3 in-game days to prepare for the final fight. Each day follows the same basic idea: explore, collect resources, get stronger. You want to survive until the night boss appears. During the daytime, your main goal is to move around the map and find anything that can help your team. You're going to discover weapons, upgrade materials. Once night arrives, the game changes. The playable area starts shrinking, forcing your team into a final battle against the Night Lord. These fights are usually the biggest challenge of the day, and beating them gives your team valuable reward. Looting works differently compared to the original Elden Ring. You aren't spending hours farming one specific weapon or piece of armor. Instead, you're constantly replacing gear throughout the run. Weapons and items you find can have different effects, stats, and bonuses, obviously. So part of the strategy is figuring out what works best with your character and your teammates. You want to make sure you're looking at the final boss before you go in. That way you can get the proper status effects that go against that boss. Now, the biggest difference, I would say, is the leveling system. Instead of using runes to level up at a site of grace like the original game, Nightreign uses runes you collect during your run to increase your character's level at checkpoints. Every level matters because enemies get stronger quickly, and being underleveled can make the nighttime bosses very, very difficult. The goal isn't to become an unstoppable character over dozens of hours like the original game. The goal is to make the best decisions possible during each run, build your character, work together with your team, and hopefully survive long enough to defeat that final boss. That's what makes Nightreign unique. Every run tells a different story. In this case, I chose the Raider character. He is the only one that I know so far. Like I said, I only have a few hours on the game actually, so Raider's the only character that I've been playing. He's just super simple. He's got this concrete pillar for his ultimate, and I find it to be really useful because if there's a group of enemies around you or big bosses, you can just pop that ultimate. It works as a defensive pillar as well, so you could use it for your teammates. Now, to be honest, this is where Nightreign surprised me. It's not like typical Elden Ring where, you're pathfinding your way through the map, defeating every enemy you come across. No, in this, you're speedrunning, so there's a lot of enemies that you're actually avoiding. What I've noticed, the main thing is going through and fighting all the main bosses. So if you can go through and get all the main bosses out of the way, you're going to get all your runes that way. You don't need to waste your time fighting the small enemies that give you barely any souls. This is a speedrun game where every second matters. The map is constantly shrinking. Stronger enemies appear as time passes. Every second you waste is time you could have spent leveling up or finding better gear. It almost feels like you're speedrunning every match. You're constantly making split-second decisions about where to go, which bosses are worth fighting, and what loot is worth grabbing before the next night begins. That sense of urgency completely changes the way Elden Ring is played, and honestly, it's one of the biggest reasons Nightreign feels so different. Another thing I noticed is when you get knocked down, you're not immediately out of the game. Instead, your teammates do have a chance to bring you back, but not by simply holding a revive button. To revive in Nightreign, your teammates actually have to attack your downed body. Every hit chips away at your revive gauge until you're back on your feet. The catch is that every time you're knocked down in the same fight, that revive gauge gets bigger and bigger and bigger, meaning it takes more hits to bring you back each time you die. So while getting revived is incredibly valuable, going down over and over can become a huge problem, especially during boss fights when your teammates have to choose between attacking the boss or saving you. Now, one thing I was worried about before buying Nightreign was whether I would need hundreds of hours in Elden Ring to enjoy it, but honestly, I don't think you do. Having experience with Elden Ring or other Souls games will help, especially when it comes to dodging attacks and learning boss patterns, but Nightreign does a surprisingly good job of making things approachable for newer players. Since every character has a defined role and abilities, you don't have to spend hours researching builds or figuring out where to put your stats. You can just pick a character, jump into a run, and start learning as you play. The co-op aspect helps a lot too. Even when I wasn't completely sure what I was doing, my teammates could carry some of the pressure while I learned the mechanics. Now, don't get me wrong, Nightreign is still challenging. You're gonna die, you're gonna make mistakes, and some bosses are brutal. I never felt like the game expected me to be an Elden Ring veteran just to have fun. If anything, Nightreign might actually be one of the easier ways for a new player to get into From Software games because it focuses more on teamwork, quick progression, and learning through repeated runs. Now, I do want to talk about the bosses as well in this game. If you've played a From Software game before, you already know they're known for making incredible boss fights, and Nightreign definitely keeps that tradition alive. Some of these bosses are absolutely massive. Seeing them for the first time is honestly intimidating, and it makes every fight feel like a huge event instead of just another enemy to beat. What I also love is that every boss feels different. Some are incredibly aggressive and constantly pressure your team, while others have huge attacks that force everyone to spread out and work together. Because every run builds toward these fights, there's a real sense of anticipation. You're spending the entire match collecting weapons, leveling up, and hoping you've prepared enough to survive what's waiting at the end of the day. And when you've finally taken down one of these giant bosses after a tough fight, it feels incredibly rewarding. Those moments are easily some of the highlights of the entire game, and a big reason why I kept wanting to jump into another run. I do know I've only been talking about the positives with this game, but I think it would only be fair if I mentioned some cons as well. My biggest complaint is that the game is at its best when you're playing with your friends. If you're queuing with random teammates, communication can be difficult since the game relies mostly on a ping system and doesn't include built-in voice chat. That can make coordinating routes, boss fights, and revives a lot harder. Another downside is that solo play can be pretty unforgiving. While it's absolutely possible to beat the game alone, Nightreign is clearly designed around a 3-player team, so playing by yourself is a much bigger challenge. I can also see some players getting tired of the gameplay loop. Even though the map changes and every run is a little bit different, you're still repeating the same core objective over and over, so it won't be for everyone. And finally, there's no cross-play, which is disappointing for a game that's built around co-op in a game this size. If your friends are on a different platform, you won't be able to team up. That being said, none of these issues completely ruined the experience for me. All my friends that play the game are on PC. The incredible boss fights, fast-paced gameplay, and satisfying co-op moments were more than enough to keep me coming back for another run. Now, that being said, one of the biggest reasons I can see myself coming back to this game is how replayable it is. The maps shift, no two runs feel exactly the same. Every match has different loot, different routes to take, different teammates, and different decisions to make. One run might have you chasing powerful weapons early, while the next has you adapting with whatever gear you find. The game also keeps things fresh with map variations. As you continue playing and defeat certain Night Lords, new map events and terrain changes begin to appear. Areas of the map can shift, opening new paths, creating new challenges, and changing the way you approach each run. That means you can't memorize one perfect route and do the same thing every game. You have to adapt to what's happening in front of you, and I think that's what keeps Nightreign interesting, even after multiple playthroughs. For me, that's one of the game's biggest strengths. Instead of feeling repetitive, every run feels like a new challenge, and there's always something different waiting around the next corner. It gives you a reason to jump in for one more run, and then somehow that turns into 5 more. This game has been super addicting and super fun over the last couple days that I've had it. If you're expecting another massive open world adventure like the original Elden Ring, this probably is not the game you're looking for. But if you enjoy challenging boss fights, fast-paced gameplay, and the thrill of working together with a team, I think Nightreign is an easy game to recommend. Even as someone who didn't have a ton of experience going into it, I never felt locked out of the fun. Every run taught me something new. Every victory felt earned. At the end of the day, that's what keeps me coming back. Whether you're playing with friends or teaming up with random players, every run feels like another chance to improve, try a different strategy, and take down another incredible boss. And also, before we do get to the end of the video, I just wanted to give FromSoft some credit, Nightreign some credit for how beautiful this game looks. I mean, as soon as I logged onto the game, I could just tell by looking at the sky that this was going to be a beautiful, beautiful game. Whether you're exploring castles, forests, fighting beneath an enormous night sky, the environments are packed with detail and atmosphere. Okay, now before I finish, I have to talk about this final boss arena. The moment you step into this arena, you immediately realize this is not just another boss fight. This arena is absolutely massive, and the atmosphere is unlike anything else. It almost feels like you're standing on the surface of the moon. Everything is surrounded by darkness with an eerie glow lighting up the battlefield, making the whole fight feel mysterious and otherworldly. It's one of those arenas that instantly tells you this is it. After everything you've done over the past 2 days, looting, leveling up, surviving boss fights, it all leads up to this one final showdown. The scale of the arena, the music, and the boss itself all come together to create an unforgettable ending. It's easily one of the coolest looking final boss fights I've experienced, and a perfect way to finish each run. At this point in the video, I just want to answer a question that I know maybe a new player could be asking themselves: should I buy this game? So after putting a good amount of time into Nightreign, would I actually recommend buying it? I'd say yes, but it depends on what you're looking for. If you're expecting another 100-hour open world adventure like the original Elden Ring, you might be disappointed, because that's simply not what Nightreign is trying to be. But if you enjoy replayable games, challenging boss fights, working together, I think Nightreign's a blast. Every run feels like a chance to improve, learn a new strategy, or try a different character. Definitely a game that rewards patience. You're probably not going to dominate your first run, that's okay. The more you play, the more everything starts to click. That's when the game becomes really satisfying. Looking back, I'm honestly glad I gave Nightreign a chance. It surprised me in a lot of ways, and it's a game I could definitely see myself coming back to whenever I want a challenging co-op experience. Overall, I'd give Elden Ring Nightreign maybe like an 8.5 out of 10. It isn't perfect, but it absolutely delivers some of the most exciting co-op boss fights I've played in a long time. Before I do wrap things up, I wanted to share a few things I wish I knew before jumping into Nightreign. First, don't spend too much time looting one area. The game rewards players who keep moving. If you fall behind, you'll end up under-leveled for the next boss fight. Second, don't get attached to a single weapon. You're constantly finding better gear, so sometimes the best choice is adapting instead of waiting for your favorite weapon to drop. Third, don't be afraid to play with random teammates. I honestly expected it to be a frustrating experience, but some of my most fun moments came from complete strangers working together without saying a single word. Finally, don't get discouraged if your first few runs don't go well. Nightreign has a bit of a learning curve. Once you understand the map, characters, how to prepare for each night, everything will start to click. That's honestly what surprised me the most. I thought the game was just chaotic, but after a few runs, I realized there's actually a lot of strategy behind every decision you make. That's what kept me coming back for more. Just take a moment and listen to how excited I was to finally beat this boss. I think this is my very first attempt, so you could tell I was pretty excited. Yes! Yes! That's how you do it, man! That's how you do it, man! If you did make it this far in the video, I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, comment on the video if you enjoyed. If you guys want to see more of this kind of content, feel free to comment and let me know. This is my first video, so if you guys did enjoy, please let me know in the comments. I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you for watching the video, and take it easy.